Welcome to the Cairn. I'm Ben Walker. This is where we sit down with leaders navigating real challenges, people thinking seriously about the future and what it takes to balance people, process and technology when everything's changing. Each episode we explore how leaders actually build strategy, drive real change and get things done in an increasingly uncertain landscape. Whether they're transforming education or revolutionising patient care, these are the conversations with people getting it done. Practical thinking, real outcomes. This is the Cairn. Let's get into it. Today we're diving into the future of education with Andy Crossman, a digital transformation leader who spent years helping organisations embrace technology. Andy's background spans engineering, IT management to service delivery and digital strategy. And now he's driving innovation at Otago Polytechnic. Today we'll explore how AI can be adopted responsibly, balancing innovation with governance, and ensuring human judgement stays at the heart of digital transformation. Welcome, Andy.
Thanks, Ben. Pleasure to be here.
Right, let's kick straight in. So for a start, we're going to talk a bit about technology and leadership foundations. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey into leadership, technology leadership at the Otago Polytechnic, and what drew you to digital leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started at Otago Polytechnic just over 6 months ago. And when the role came up, I was really attracted to it because it was Otago Polytechnic going through a time of change. They're coming out of Te Pukenga, they're re-establishing themselves as a new entity next year. So it's an opportunity to come in and lead a digital transformation journey from the very beginning with a new team, which is something that's quite rare, very, very rare in Dunedin as well. So I saw that coming up. I was really interested to get in there and have that as a thing to actually work through. So I've been in leadership for a while, and I've had long-standing teams for many, many years, whereas this is building a new team and actually it's an exciting new future, so I was really keen to get stuck in.
What are the things that are standing out for you in terms of moving into the education space? I know that you've worked in a few different sectors and kind of cross-sector as well.
The thing that sort of blows me away with the education space is everybody's quite inquisitive by nature. Like they're all, when it comes to something that I've always battled with in my career is sort of change delivery, or that link between digital technology and the business, right? So you can work as a silo, as a team, and the business stands over here, and that connectedness is quite a challenge. Education, the business are more, I'm finding they're quite more inquisitive. So they want to learn, they want to adopt, they want to actually try new things with IT. So when you come to them to talk about their needs, they're more open, and you can get onto the ground a lot quicker and start to talk about those real issues, which is really quite refreshing. It's quite exciting. And they're on the journey with you as opposed to sort of being quite cautious. They're inquisitive by nature. Like they're curious, they want to learn. So it's been really, really nice to meet those people and get some smart people in the room and talk about that, as well as just the general broader sort of school education mix of what the differences are with that industry and how transient the meeting spaces are by nature is where the main thing is, like with things moving around and you've got students coming in, how important it is to give them that experience and how quickly it changes, as opposed to being quite static in a big corporate world. It's quite fluid, which is also quite exciting. So,
yeah, it does sound exciting. And what are the technologies that you're finding are playing a bigger role in education opposed to what you've seen in other sectors? Is it different?
Yeah, I guess, well, I mean, different as in they've got things like Turnitin for plagiarism and those as part of the trade, but there are a lot of similarities as well. I mean, everybody's got cybersecurity concerns. The risk is there with every organisation, so everything's got that. The personal touch, though, the pastoral care aspects are quite new. So they're really caring about the students and making sure they get the experience they want and understanding that at a more granular level than you normally would with your customer, I find. So that's quite different. Technology-wise, though, yeah, I guess the reliance on those meeting spaces, the audio visual, the supporting technologies for the teachers, specific challenges around integrity, academic integrity, and being able to prove that your work is genuine is something that's new. And of course, AI plays a big risk in that, so trying to navigate those waters. Otherwise, there's also a lot of commonalities as well.
I bet there is. And you started to touch on some of the values and the mission of Otago Polytech there, where you are heading and what you want to deliver to the students that are coming through. How do you ensure that the technology and your roadmap for delivering technology stays aligned?
They had, when I started, a large AI committee, which was really good, which had the governance team in there as well. So everybody was already talking about the topic and bringing the strategy into the conversation. So all those key values were discussed up front when we were incorporating AI. And then from that, as a group, everyone developed the core principles. So how do we adopt this technology and what's the general rules to start with? And from there, then you've got a common understanding of what you want to achieve. And then you build the tools and the use cases from there. as opposed to just, oh, we hear AI is cool, it does some automation stuff, it solves, it's a good return on investment, let's go. It came more from, let's talk about what we actually want to achieve and build from there, which is really good. So I came into that committee when I started, and it's been a great way. We built the AI policy, so we put the guardrails in. So we approached it as sort of three main buckets of the sort of data privacy and security concerns, which are very defined in thou shalt and thou shalt not do this. So some good rules. The students and teachers both want to know how to work safely with it, and they want to have some guidance there. So a rule doesn't have to be a punitive thing. It's more about, hey, there's some clear guidelines about what you don't do about security. That moves on to sort of the academic integrity of, there's a grey area of, okay, so you can use it for this, but how do you prove the authenticity of your work? And then it goes through to more we had the third bucket of ethics, and the bias, and that is a very personal kind of thing where you have to take good judgment and sort of apply a bit of a personal lens to how you interpret that. So we sort of attacked it in three chunks and went from there.
Yeah, fantastic. And then I'm thinking about some of the conversations I've had recently with various people, including educators, and the role that the Otago Polytechnic takes in, I guess, educating our future workforce. How do you feel, I guess, nationally, tertiary institutions like the Otago Polytechnic should approach educating some of these people starting to come through?
Yeah. I think embracing, get ahead of it. It's here. It's not something that's going away. It's already been used widely just in consumer space, and kids are growing up with. I mean, my son is talking to his devices and getting things. They're all using it now anyway. So the caution is great, and it requires some good guardrails, but it's here and it's happening. So get in front of it, talk about it if you haven't already. Decide on what your organisation, the values are, and how you want to incorporate this sort of technology in, what the challenges are, and understand kind of the why of where you're going, and then set up some clear guidelines and rules so of safe adoption. And then from there you can then build forward, as opposed to just going straight in. Start small as well. We have, education is fortunate enough to get some really good licensing for the students as well, so they get Copilot Chat as part of that licensing. We have a small pilot of M365 Copilot, for example, which is safe. It's the technology we've endorsed because it's within our tenancy. Security rules are already predefined, so that's good. And just having small use cases where we iterate and try it out in a safe way, and from there go back to the group and build up business cases for how that solves problems, based using our guidelines to make sure it's all safe and secure, and everybody's all good to go. Yeah.
Fantastic.
A shout out to sort of Mairead and Rachel and Emma and the crew downstairs, because the learning and teaching people are amazing, and they really are about linking up the technology and the tools to help the teachers get the most out of them and know how to do that in a way that's safe and well understood, as well as innovative and actually be a point of difference, because we're standing on our own next year. They're going to compete with everybody else. How are we going to be different? And this is one of the ways we can be, right?
Absolutely. Right, if we start to look at, I guess, building capability, especially in the AI space, how do you ensure that AI tools enhance rather than replace human judgment, especially in education?
Yeah, well, I guess that goes back to our core principles of human-centered AI, and that's our approach. So it's not there to replace it. It is a tool like any other digital tool where the human being is actually responsible for their competency and the output, and they use the tools to develop the things that they need to do in their jobs. So that's just our approach. How do you ensure that? I guess it comes from the top, right? It's part of your strategy and it's part of your culture in some ways. Regardless if it's AI or another technology, how do you treat adoption of these sort of things, and how do you value your staff and the work they put in? And I think this organisation's really got it nailed. Yeah, it's that sort of with us approach as opposed to just throwing a tool in.
Yeah, hand in hand with AI, opposed to the approach that a lot of organisations have taken is me too. Hey, look, they're doing AI, we want to do it, we'll chuck it in, here you go, guys.
Absolutely. Well, it's marketed by the biggest funded marketing agencies in the globe, right? We've been through cloud. We know how that went, and it was marketed as this huge, amazing thing, and there are some benefits, but it took a long time for us to realise those. AI is another thing. It's like, you need it now. Well, hang on. For what? How does it apply to my organisation and our values? And then, as with any technology, you just try it out and then find out where it really adds value, as opposed to just, I want to be on the bandwagon, which is tempting. I get it. There's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of seminars. There's a lot of marketing speak. But this comes back to, who you are and what you want to achieve as a business, really.
So, Andy, you're starting to do a bit of planning at the moment, or you're in the process of planning and you're engaging widely across the organisation. What are some of the most surprising things that have come back to you, or some of the most things, well, some of the things that you've learnt from in terms of talking to people around the organisation and where they want to go with technology, innovation, and AI?
Yeah, so probably the surprising thing, just from a technical point of view, was how much possibly we have all relied on security of our obscurity, like the files and folders that you know aren't really that well secure, information's not over the place, but because you can't see it, it's not visible, you're like, oh yeah, that's okay. AI will find that very quickly. So making sure you've got your information management and your data, hygiene correct is something to start out with there. So that was a aha moment for me of like, oh yeah, that file structure there that's got that PDF in it, actually, now we better make sure that's ready to go before we go any further with this, because it is, I mean, one of the early stages of AI that its benefits, it's got so many, but is the search and retrieve function, right? So it can go and find stuff for you, it can go and find your documents and make things easier for you. Also, if it finds things that you didn't know you had access to, that causes some privacy problems. So first off, start with your data security and privacy, and then go from there.
AI kind of builds on top of other technologies and maturity around technology, and you build up maturity in the AI space as well. Meaning that for a start, you could put in AI and it can deliver outcomes, but you get to a certain point where the foundational aspects really start to matter.
Yeah, so we're starting, like I said, starting out small and discovering our way. As you iterate and you grow, if you haven't got those core principles and foundations in place and the guardrails, then that's, as with any IT project, you start to get like a table with a wonky leg. If you don't architect it correctly, you end up with a table, but it'll be a bit. So you have to put the time in to understand where you're going. What I'm learning here, especially I'm really enjoying, is it's the community base that's with us design of products and technology. And that's really important. So when you're going forward with something, it's actually meaningful and everybody can experiment with it in a safe way, then articulate the risks, and you can get ahead of them before it's too late and the cat's out of the bag, right? So it's co-designed with the students and the teachers, which is really important.
And I guess to a certain extent, I mean, with some of the education and the courses that you offer here, it's kind of, you've got to practice what you preach as well in terms of that co-design. If you're expecting students to be co-designing in their projects and the things that they're delivering.
Yeah. That's all part of what makes this place great, right? It's all part of the culture already, so it feeds itself really well into that. Yeah.
So thinking about the journey that you've gone through over the last few months and some of the learnings as you've come into tertiary education, what would you say to other people as they start their journey towards AI and start their journey towards transformation in a changing tertiary landscape in New Zealand?
Yeah, build your communities up front early, make sure you understand and discuss that as a group and understand where you're going. It's such a changing thing, AI as well. It's not just a set and forget technology. AI, I mean, as you know, you post all the time, but it changes every day. So you've got to get your core principles down pat. So when those changes hit, you've got some way of addressing, there's this change. How do we actually reason with this? How do we make a decision on where we should go for this first? So you need to get your governance out of the way first. And then with me, it's, I guess, in my role, the cybersecurity and the security aspects of data governance and making sure it can't get places it can't do. Do you use public AI engines? Everyone's got, what's your stance on that? For us, that's not acceptable because of, you've got people's IP put out into the cloud and someone in the end of the day is making money out of it, right? So if you're using public AI engines, I mean, it's probably not something you really want to do, but everyone has their own take on that. Make sure it's safe and secure and you're working within your boundaries. And then from there, find valid, actual value-adding use cases for the thing. Everybody will sell you lots of different bits and pieces, but what gives the biggest impact to your organisation, and go from there.
Just picking up on those use cases, what are some of the things that people are getting excited about?
The chatbot feature seems to be the beginning stages of this, is the ask AI this. So either ask HR what the policies are, or for service desk, it's, I've got this problem. So it's taken that cringeworthy conversational bot kind of idea, and it's making it a little bit, because the large language models now converse in a lot more human way. So it feels the interaction, people are adopting it a lot better. So there's some excitement there. Outside of that, there's just the day-to-day process automation. So I have this job where I've got people who send 50 emails to these people in a day, and I have to manually do this and do this and do this. Surely there's a way, if I've got a knowledge source, to interrogate that, do that. And they're starting to actually build the problem statements and the workflows. So while they might not get there with building the agents, they've actually described what the business problem is just by playing with it, which is kind of neat. Socratic learning as well, so Socratic agents. So putting it in front of a student, not giving them the answer to something, but asking them, so why did you, getting them to actually think through it, which is rather than what automatically think of AI as it gives you the answers and have a plagiarism kind of vibe to it, whereas this is using it for actually teaching you to think, which I think is a really good use case for that. So there are, Sydney's developed a Cogniti agent, for example, that does that, supporting the learners to learn, not just to give them the answers, which is perfect.
Fantastic. And have you seen the flip side of that as well? Are there people that are sort of the naysayers? Hey, look,
Absolutely.
we don't need the change.
Yeah, it's scary, right? It's like AI's taking jobs, and it's this big automated robot in the sky kind of thing. It's like when you watch too much CSI, everyone thinks IT is just press a button and it's there. So if you hear what the marketing with AI, it's like, oh, this is kind of scary. So there are a lot of people who don't really want to use it, which is fine, or it scares them a wee bit. So we have to just sort of articulate what it can be used for. And it's, again, setting up those rules so they know what's okay, what's not. Nobody wants to get caught cheating because they've invested all their money to learn something. And if they've inadvertently stumbled across something, they've pressed the wrong button. That's real fair for the students, right? So there's that. And then there's, of course, the challenges that all the teachers have. So different courses, and I'm not by no means an expert in it, but imagine trying to teach something and then a student turns up with the answers on their tablet and says, that's my work. That's essentially what they're struggling with day to day. And how do they address that problem? We're quite lucky at being it's vocational education, so a lot of it's practical, but there's still a lot of courses that's a challenge for, right? So they're asking someone to present their work, and they're using AI to maybe check the grammar. Is that okay? And how far does it go? And that's a moving feast, like what is okay? That's what it's all about, honesty and integrity and going back to the core principles, right? Can you actually prove your own work, and have you done this with integrity and those sort of things? So there are tests to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an interesting one as well. Certainly around the grammar checkers versus full-blown, deep learning, deep research type models. I think there's about 85% of New Zealand businesses and organisations that have adopted AI in some form, but that includes, Grammarly, large adoption of AI, but it's in varying different forms. Where do you draw the line? I was talking to someone the other day and they had suggested, they were a teacher, and they said that they have a traffic light system. Green light, you can go to town on the AI. Orange light, these are the things that are okay. Red light, no AI on this. And I thought that was quite a good logical way of determining and making it clear what the boundaries were with AI use.
Yeah, that's a great approach. It's very similar to our buckets of the cybersecurity is a red light, like these are the core things. Then the academic integrity, there's a sort of orange light, just be wary that you have to cite your work and make sure, to the ethics kind of bias kind of conversations, which are more, you can do these things, but just be aware, some general guidance and where that fits. But it's changing so much as well.
Oh yes, it changes daily.
Yeah.
As we look forward, I guess into the future, 3 to 5 years, say, what do you think the role of AI will be in education? Which is a big question because we're moving forward 4 times as fast as other technology.
Yeah.
So we've exceeded Moore's law. We're beating the Turing test. We're changing so rapidly. So it's hard to foresee the future. What would be your hope?
Yeah, I think that my hope would be that students leave this organisation educated and they know how to use the tools when they go and get a job, right? So they actually know, they're aware of it, they're well aware of the challenges, and they've gone through the education system and learnt their vocation, but also they're empowered with how to use the latest tools, and one of those being such a major part of a lot of organisations these days. They have a level of awareness, so they're prepared to go into the workforce. That would be awesome. And we're working towards that with all the different things that we got on the go. As far as 3 to 5 years, I'm trying to think of examples. I think like Web 2.0, when the internet suddenly became more interactive and what happened there, there'll be use cases I can't imagine for the way businesses will change and how the different channels for, whether it be a sales channel, will change to more AI-related interactions with customers maybe. That could be a big part of it. As well as, what does that mean for students? Like, will we have more, and I kind of cringe at it, but where does it work in the classroom? Like, if you were learning something, how would you feel if you were being taught by an automated bot? And are you getting value for your money there? That's a challenge. So I think it's more of an augmented fit of having people pay to come here to get the person who's got the experience, right? And they're a good teacher. You then bolt on AI to help with that as a tool, winning. It's a winning formula. So I think that's probably where it's going to go. It'll be one of those tools that's used in the classroom alongside the actual valuable teacher who's there. Again, how we get there, who knows? But we're getting there. Unfortunately, there is the risk. There's the ongoing cybersecurity side of things as well. And the bad actors out there have these tools as well. They don't want to use them for good. They want to get in there and do things. So we have to stay ahead of that. That's where we look to the industry and the different partners out there to help protect us for those sort of things and learn from them as to what other latest practices and simple things like not putting a username online when you're registering for things, and it's just making sure the awareness is there. So when people, I guess, they'll be more aware, and I hope my mum and dad actually, as they get into their older years, don't fall for, because it used to be the whole chain letter scam, and then it became the call Microsoft scam, then it was the on the computer scam. Now it's going to be something that's powered with someone that sounds really real. So how do we combat that? And there's good adverts on TV with banks and things now talking about it, but that further education around safety will probably be hopefully every day and part of everybody's thinking in 3 to 5 years' time, more normal across all generations, because it is a bit of a risk. Yeah, there's some things I think.
And I'm just thinking back to when early in our careers when, you could kind of be the jack of all trades. I kind of feel like we are in the same space with AI at the moment. You can know a bunch about a whole bunch of different AI technologies, but it's going to start to diversify so quickly, and we're starting to see there'll be technical experts in particular areas of AI, and then we'll have BAs in particular areas of AI.
It's quite a data space a wee bit in that respect, isn't it? Like you've got the AI chat or search kind of things and the sort of data discovery type skills, and then you've got the full-on developer, how you code it side of things, and then you've got the business analyst. It's like, what is the problem you're trying to solve? And how do you apply that to a Power Platform or whatever your platform of choice is in developing an AI agent and all the tools there as well? So there is a whole reskilling, and there's another challenge is my team as well, making sure that they're upskilled, because we're a digital team, we're on the bleeding edge of this going forward. We need to keep up with the pace of everybody else, and everybody's been given the tools already, so I need to make sure the team is supported and have that training and think about what the roles will be for the future, so they're future-proofed on the way forward as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. And what other parts of the organisation do you think need to move rapidly in terms of AI? A lot of people talk about HR with, agents coming through and sitting alongside people. Does HR have that responsibility, or does it sit somewhere else? I know finance are very keen, but they want to see the accuracy at the same time in terms of, being able to use generative AI to generate insights, etc. But they absolutely need the accuracy to be providing financial data that's accurate.
Yeah. I guess it's hard to answer that because everybody's got their own different use case and their own different need, right? So like I said, the finance people are very data driven, so they need to be able to interrogate data and get insights that maybe they wouldn't normally had or made more easily ready to. That's a value to them. Whereas you might have more of a support person bot, like I'm turning up to Otago Polytechnic and I'm not feeling okay right now. How do I flag that? How can I help you? What are some ways I can get resources to you more quickly to support you in your journey? So it's across the board. It's not just one thing. It's hard to to imagine. What in the classrooms obviously is the teaching side of things. The corporate world, digital themselves, like the automation of operational management, those sort of tools, the whole service delivery side of things. It's everywhere. Everywhere you've got a process, it can help just make that a little bit better. So yes, it is. And that's why you kind of need to come back to your principles and your committees and your governance structure to actually go, okay, we've got this table full of needs. What is it the organisation actually needs to achieve the next year? And then we can actually frame that into a smaller chunk, and then we'll see where we go and where we invest smartly to get the best from it.
Andy, we've covered a lot today. Good chat about AI across the whole Polytech and the implications today and tomorrow for students and staff, everyone involved. I've got one final question for you. In the age of AI, what's the one trait that defines human leadership?
What's the one trait?
And I'm happy for you to think, because it's supposed to make you think.
Yeah. I mean, there's a huge human aspect to that. What I'm finding, actually, with the more I use AI, is the more I crave in-face meetings. I think it's that human connection that we can't lose, because that's why we're here. You'd think it would take being an IT guy, but actually it's become a tool that makes me have better conversations. So I think it's that interpersonal conversational learning about each other that probably will, that sits quite nicely with an automation tool, like a cold hard ones and zeros. Like it's the human factor, really. So it's that 2 ears, 1 mouth kind of thing. Listen, talk a little bit less, although we've been chatting, sorry. Kind of trait that will really understand the use cases for it and then adopt, and I guess the curiosity, adopt the new tools would be my half.
Great
way of answering that one.
No, it's absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate that, Andy. And thank you very much for sharing valuable insights into your journey over the last 6 months moving into tertiary education.
Yep.
and where you are today, where you're going in the future. It's been fantastic, and as always, I've very much enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
That's the Cairn. Thanks for listening. If you found this conversation valuable, share it with a leader at your network who needs to hear it. Subscribe wherever you listen to stay updated on the next conversation. Visit cairn.nz for show notes, resources and more. Connect with us on LinkedIn or Instagram for updates in between episodes. I'm Ben Walker. We'll be back soon with another conversation that matters. See you then.